Hello. My name's Isadora. Today I want to talk to you. Actually, I have to talk to you. I have no choice but to vocalize this or I will go insane. I saw Guillermo Del Toro's new Frankenstein movie yesterday. Welcome to Performative Mail. Saturday. This is my iced matcha. Public transportation was down, so I just walked about an hour and 20 minutes back to my house. I stopped for an iced matcha. I just can't fucking stop thinking about Guillermo Del Toro's Frankenstein. So that's what we're gonna fucking talk about right now. There's a hella spoilers in this, so if you ain't seen it yet, go do that. But I literally before we get into it, Frankenstein was one of my favorite books in elementary school. I feel in the way a lot of kids or little girls related to Disney princesses, I related to the creature, which I am medicated now. Thanks for asking. As somebody who thinks and feels as a creative, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was one of the first things I read, which really moved me and led me in the direction of pure gothic literature as a whole, reading Oscar Wilde, reading Bram Stoker's Dracula, getting into Anne Rice. There were so many things that I thought were incredible. Sorry, yeah, I think there's leaf dust in my hair or something. Honestly, I fucking love Guillermo Del Toro. Recently, I watched Crimson Peak, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love his approach to the gothic and the romantic, the visual language of Guillermo Del Toro. It really reminds me, I feel he kind of takes Latin American, magical realism and applies it to all kinds of shit. It's just cool as fuck. Specifically because Crimson Peak is fresh in my mind, I really remembered a lot of especially the motifs of color. I feel I would have to watch more of his movies in succession, but I feel the use of red in Guillermo Del Toro's films could be a whole fucking college thesis or something. What I really loved in terms of the visual language of Frankenstein, showing Victor in red gloves from the beginning, having Mia Goth's character Elizabeth wearing a corseted dress that kind of looks visually similar to the splayed open human full body experiments. Very cool. All of his movies are just a visual feast. Also seeing Oscar Isaac naked, bloody, sweating, moist, insane, delightful. So I'd say in comparing this film to the original book, I think this has to be one of the best adaptations of the creature's experience and intellect and voice and individual journey that I have ever seen in my entire life. There were things that I could there are lines that the creature says directly in the book that they kind of took and adapted for the film, and it rang bells for me. Oh, I got chills, especially when he's in the book, I believe he says something I have both anger and love inside of me, which you cannot imagine. And if I cannot express one, I will indulge the other. They had a variant of that directly in the movie. I thought, honestly, Jacob Elordi was incredible as the creature. So I recently saw, what the fuck was it? Who's that director I don't really like that everybody else really likes? He did Nosferatu, he did The Lighthouse, he did The Northman with Björk. I can't, wow, dude, they're gonna kick me out of Performative Mail, whatever, their Congress, I don't know. But I feel I was the only one who thought the way they did the monster Nosferatu in the new Robert Eggers movie was goofy as fuck. It was one of those things where you hear about all of the work that went into it and you're it's cool that y'all tried that hard, but all the effort did not come together to produce gravitas. Again, that's my problem with Robert Eggers. I'm wow, I love his approach to researching the cultures of wherever his films takes place and making them as accurate as possible, showing Romani customs, using practical effects. But then I see the thing is the sum of its parts, and I'm I don't feel anything about this. Guillermo Del Toro, I feel Oh my, I wept openly in that fucking theater. So like Jacob Elordi was incredible. As Frankenstein, the voice they gave him, like he had such gravitas, such suffering, like even during the parts where he's like not speaking. I think one of the greatest horrors of the movie as they depicted it is that like from the very beginning, because of Jacob Elordi's acting, you can see that like there is light and there is intelligence in the eyes of the creature. Like you can see that, like, I don't know if, I'd like to know, so here's the thing, like I want to know what Jacob Elordi's process actually was, because that was incredible. Like I want to know, like, so I don't want just you to be like, oh, like the Skarsgård brother number 8 trained with an opera singer for 9 months to sound like fucking goofy. Like I don't, like, again, like knowing about the artistic process is cool, but it has to result in something. It's like when you heard about like Jared Leto like method acting to be the Joker and it was like the worst performance ever. It's like, all right, like cool that you did all that stuff, I guess. But like the end result, Jacob Elordi, like you could even like, and there's like, and he was in like heavy, like, I'm not sure exactly what the effects like were and how they accomplished that. Cause again, like, I feel like with Del Toro, you don't really see a lot of him being like, oh, like we did like all of these intensive processes. So like, you have to respect what I did as an artist. He just shows you something that's fucking sick. How about it, Eggers? But yeah, one of the real horrors of the film was seeing Victor treat the creature so horribly and treating him like he's stupid, when you can literally see like the light and like the frustration and like the quest for understanding like in his fucking eyes. There were so many levels of effectively executed horror in this movie. Like, yeah, so the execution of the creature was incredible. Almost all of my issues in this film come down to like creative choices they made to change like the structure of the story. Like they kind of tried to give it a happy ending, which I did not like the ending at all. So like in the original book, basically like, I don't know, you do feel like a little bit bad like for Victor in the book because he seems like this total incompetent, super emotionally dead, like kind of a dumbass who has like one skill, but his one skill and obsession is horrifying. And then he like creates this thing which like I bet he kind of thought he would never succeed, you know? And then he does, and like he's like the world's worst like mother/father. Like of all time. One, like the perversion of family relations is like, well, again, like I think Mary Shelley is like, has to be one of like the inventors of like gothic literature and gothic horror as a genre. Like this perversion of familial relations and relationships is like pure gothic, and it comes from here. In this, like, I don't know. So when I read Frankenstein as a kid, like what I kind of took from it is like, so a real point at least that I took is that like if Victor really wanted to create life, he could just marry Elizabeth, have children, do normal shit, and like create life. And instead he's going on this like bizarre quest and like tormenting everyone around him, and like everything's ending in tragedy, and he fully lacks the conviction and integrity to do like literally anything. He like, it's very interesting, like in the original book you almost get like, it's almost like Victor Frankenstein in the book is like feminized in like a very specific way, where like even though he is a man, like he's technically like giving birth, he's like a horrible mother, he has no like real agency or integrity outside of like doing this one freak thing, and like he's a horrible parent. So like I think, and you know, he's prone to having like nervous fits and whatever, and like hysteria as like a woman would be. So like that's something I kind of really thought about in terms of like the book Frankenstein, in terms of like being forced into roles that don't fit you, doing things that like go against your nature, in like doing like insane shit when like the natural and normal way of doing something is like infinitely available to you and like easy. It's really giving like men will do anything except go to therapy. I feel like they made Victor Frankenstein an infinitely worse person, like a completely irredeemable, like super jealous, like monster. Like, they just, so like, they kind of gave him, like, they tried to, so I feel like, again, which you'll see a lot in, like, Latin American literature and, like, magical realism in terms of, like, family ties and intergenerational trauma and, like, resolving family trauma. I feel like they kind of tried to hammer that into Frankenstein when that is not, like, the point at all. So like we kind of see Victor having like a horrible relationship with his own father, being jealous of like the relationship that his mom has with his dad and wanting like his mom to himself and hating his father physically abusing him and like torturing him essentially. Then we see him do all of that to the creature he creates. And like we just kind of see in general there's like a weird covetousness and like entitlement to him where he feels like he's owed like immortality, he's owed his brother's wife, like, he's owed his mother instead of his father, like pretty much anything. He's like, you know, oh, I'm entitled to like this man's like infinite money to, like create my project, and when the guy says he's gonna pull it and stop funding him, he's like, he can't believe it. So you just see this like kind of like incredible unchecked ego and entitlement in this like profoundly awful fucking man who's like jealous of everybody. And then so like he's jealous of like his brother for landing like a cool autistic bug obsessed wife, which like real, like what a fucking flex, you know what I'm saying? Then something you see is that like he gets mad at like his own creation because like Elizabeth shows sympathy to it, which was like some of the most like, probably for me, one of the scenes that fucking shook me the most in this goddamn movie is when Frankenstein is like, I'm gonna have to kill the creature, and he's like lighting the whole house on fire around him to like burn him to death, and he's like, say one word other than my name to like prove you're intelligent, and then the creature does, and he fucking kills, and it's Elizabeth, and Victor gives him this look of like pure disgust and kills him anyway. Like, I think like kind of the real horror of Frankenstein, again, it's like science pushed too far, and it's like rejecting like the normal order of life which is readily available to you to do freaky shit for literally no reason. It got like backstory-itis a little bit, which you see a lot when they try and stretch like simpler stories into like long-ass movies. Again, I'm pretty sure this movie was like over 2 hours long, and like it really didn't need to be if you were sticking to the source material. So they put in all this like extraneous stuff, like they changed the relationships of the characters as well. Like in the novel, Elizabeth is like Victor's fiance, whatever, and like I don't know, I think they added some things. Again, like it does kind of add richness to like the complete horribleness of Victor's character in this movie. Like, so I feel like in the book, he's almost like this weak, hapless, like very feminized, like dumbass. But again, like he was kind of written the way that like women have been written for like a very long time, which like I think adds like a layer of interest and fascination like to the text, especially when we're talking about like feminization, gender roles, like the horror of like motherhood and postpartum depression, which I think you really, really see actually in Del Toro's Frankenstein when you know, he's like Victor's trying to like shave the creature, feed him, care for him, and he's like literally going insane raising a baby by himself. Yeah, like I feel like a lot of women go through that, but like because it's like something women go through, it's not real work, it's not really hard, and we don't see the horror in it. Like, again, I'm just really fucked up. I'm probably an antinatalist. Like, when I see children being born, I feel bad for them. Like, somebody gives birth to a baby and I'm like, I just feel bad that, like, they're gonna have to, like, come to grips with, like, the world as it is. So, for me, like, there is, like, significant horror in creating, like, a cognizant life form. They really show you actually, like, in bloody, gory detail, like, exactly what, the process of making the creature was like so disgusting, so horrifying. Also something I feel like Del Toro, he'll kind of occasionally he'll bring in some like political ideologies like into his film. Again, like I think unless you're like looking for it, you might not even notice. But like Elizabeth and Victor have this whole conversation about how like, you know, the inherent value of ideas and how like an idea is bad if it takes like infinite horrors to like create it. And she talks about war and how like rich men chill in their homes and send poor men to like die at their behest, you know? Do you really see that coming back? Because when there's like a war near Victor's house, he like scours the battlefields looking for like bodies he can use. And like I feel like you see that a lot in Del Toro. Like everything's very circular, everything's very self-referential. Like if you want to like probably like even within Crimson Peak, like the idea that this like corrupt house is built on like sinking red clay, so in the winter like it pulls up through the ground and it looks like it's bleeding everywhere. Again, like we see a lot of red in all of his movies. Like you see like the calaveras and shit, which I think is kind of cool, taking the like calavera imagery into like the realm of like nightmares and dreams and omens, which is like super gothic, also very like magical realism, things revolving around skulls. Like I would say I'm even in Crimson Peak, like the omen ghost does kind of look like a Katrina, which is, you know, the really famous Mexican like skull woman. You'll see them a lot around like Dia de los Muertos, but you might not know is that about 100 years ago, the calavera was actually invented. No, the Katrina, my bad. The Katrina was invented by a Mexican cartoonist to like show that like no matter how well dressed you are, like you could be the most like primly dressed, like well-connected and beautiful lady of all time, like death comes for us all. So like he was kind of mocking like upper class women like with the invention of the Katrinas, and like they kind of became like a bigger part of like Mexican culture that they've kind of been like removed from the roots a little bit, but that's still real. So like when I see that, I think it lines up with a lot of like Guillermo Del Toro's ideologies, as you see like through his films in terms of like wealth, corruption, like, you know, like Count Dracula, like when we're talking about like the nobles of Europe, like often the nobles and the royalty, like they have money because of like exploited and murdered like peasants, and them like wasting all that money to like commit horrors, like, you know, Baron Frankenstein, my man. God, but yeah, I really love their depiction of Frankenstein, like the creature himself. I think it was like super, probably the best executed Frankenstein of all time. Interestingly, one of the only other movies I can really think of where they make the creature like a thinking, feeling, like eloquent person is Van Helsing, like a widely panned Universal Indiana Jones style monster hunting movie from like 20 years ago that was like a fundamental text to me as a child, but everybody else says it's bad. They'll be like, the guy who played Dracula in that movie sucks, and I'm like, I wore my hair like him for 3 years. I still don't have 3 hot wives though. Anyway, but yeah, I feel like there's a lot that you could have done with like the source text without making it kind of like this resolved intergenerational trauma story where like at the end of it, basically Victor's like dying on a boat, and like Frankenstein, the creature comes, and like they're both telling the like sea captain their like versions of the events and the tales, and it's almost like the whole movie is like a long family therapy session where like on Victor's deathbed they come to understand each other, and Victor is like, forgive me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't think a happy ending is like you forgiving your horrible parents. I just don't. Like, fight me. Like, that just came across as some neoliberal bullshit to me. I don't even know if I'm like using that correctly, but like, I don't know a lot of things. Welcome to my channel. I just fucking hated it. So Victor's like, forgive me, and the creature forgives him, and Frankenstein's like, oh, like, you need to, sorry, I realize I keep calling him both Victor and Frankenstein. I know it's confusing for people because they think that like the monster is named Frankenstein, but the monster is just called the creature, and it's Victor Frankenstein, okay? But yeah, I hated the ending where like Victor begs for forgiveness and the creature like forgives him after like being like the worst, literally went abusing the shit out of him, trying to burn him alive, disappearing on him, refusing to make him like a partner. Like, it's just so... And so they forgive each other, and Victor's like, oh, I guess you just now have to live. And like, he saves like this boat that's like stranded in ice. Like, Victor dies, the creature pushes the boat out into the ocean so like the sailors can go home, and he just stands in the sun like feeling it with like his face, and he's like, oh, I guess I'm happy now, like me and my dad forgive each other. I'm like, don't forgive your dad, bitch. Like, literally, Victor spent the entire movie being the worst person alive. Like, it's rare that I see a movie and I genuinely hate someone that much. Like, Victor just viscerally disgusted me on every level. And it's like, I don't know, like, the grave robbing, like, I don't know, if somebody's already dead, I don't really care that much. But, like, one, like, you created sentient life, tried to murder it, abandoned it, and like never even when like, because I think Victor's thing was like, oh, like he doesn't express enough, it doesn't express enough intelligence, so like it's not a real thing that can feel. And like, I fucking hate that. And even once it's proved to Victor that like the creature is learning, he's sentient, he can feel pain, he's understanding things, like Victor doesn't give a shit. He only cares about himself. Like, him being jealous of the creature because Elizabeth showed like just like a level of real human kindness to him. Nobody should have given Victor for shit. Movie Victor was the worst person alive. Okay, like, yeah, and also, so if you're wondering, like, in the novel, Victor does die on the boat of, like, all his wounds and, like, physical suffering, and the creature's like, I'm gonna go burn myself alive. Bye. Which, like, that's how gothic horror should end, okay? Gothic horror does not end with, like, this fucking, like, Full House-ass ending. Like, stop acting like the very, like, the original fount from which all gothic horror has sprung is an episode of Full House. Yeah, if you don't have the same weird relationship that I have with, like, the source text, I think you would probably, like, really, really love this movie, but I feel like kind of it's the implication, you know, like, just the idea that, like, I don't know, I don't think that, like, forgiving someone who, like, created you, tortured you, abandoned you, tried to murder you, like, I don't think forgiving them for that is a happy ending, personally. I would have really liked an ending where the creature, like, tortured Victor to death, like, because that's really what he deserved. Maybe I just want to see, like, Oscar Isaac tied up more. Yeah. Oscar Isaac's so fucking hot, though. Like, I was just having the time of my life in that theater, like, literally, I swear it's like 10 minutes into the, like, part of, like, his adult life, and, like, you're already seeing him, like, naked in the bath. I'm like, oh, I wish I was there. Taking a shower without me, baby girl. Anyway, I really love Guillermo Del Toro. I have, like, infinite respect for him as a filmmaker. I think he makes, like, incredibly emotionally dense and, like, visually beautiful films that, like, carry a lot of complexity and, like, a lot of meaning to them, where when I watch Robert Eggers movies, it's almost like, have you ever looked at, like, a painting and you're like, this is technically a good painting, but, like, I don't give a shit about it, versus, like, you see a painting that is technically a good painting but also makes you shit your fucking pants? That's how I feel about Del Toro. Like, that's my fucking boy, like, for life. Like, I love Guillermo Del Toro. He is everything to me. Like, even though I don't necessarily agree with, like, all of the choices made in this adaptation of Frankenstein, like, I can't fault Del Toro as a filmmaker. Like, everything he wants to execute, like, something I really appreciated, especially in Frankenstein, is, like, you'd have these, like, vast scenes of, like, negative space in the ice, but, like, so you would have these kind of, like, blank, like excellent use of negative space, and then these like lush, dirty Victorian scenes, you know, which are like full of people and shit going on, and it's like this almost like grayscale world, and you see Victor with like his red gloves, which is like, you know, that like Nick Cave red right hand bullshit. Like, love to see it. It's just so like, it's so visual, it's so beautiful. Literally some like, you can even tell through like the experiments he did, like he's creating creatures which like think and feel pain, but like only to bend them to his will and serve his ego. And like I feel like that's how a lot of people treat their children. Honestly, if you're gay or you have like a weird relationship with your family members, I think you will also weep openly in the theater when you go see Frankenstein. Like, again, I don't know, I think kind of like the intergenerational trauma and like the healing of that, like, one, I don't really want to see that in gothic horror, okay? Like, no hugging, no learning, like, I don't know, like, I like, if I didn't know about the source material, I still think I would have like the issue of like the endness on a like the ending on like a forgiveness note. You gotta let me know what you think. Like, it's very, very interesting, especially like yeah, like somebody close to me has like gotten an abortion recently, and like she's been like really going through like all of this grief in terms of like what could have been, and like she's like, I think like I would be like a good mother eventually, but like right now I'm just not in a place to like give like a good life to a child. I have to be real about that, and I feel this kind of like grief for like what could have been in like the family I started, and like there's just like a lot of complexities of like birth, death, existence. But yeah, I mean, so even coming into Frankenstein, so like I have my own history, like with the source text, knowing somebody like near me has been going through all this, like the pondering of like, because that's the thing, like she's not like a fundamentalist wacko. So like she actually got, I think like she was like literally like 2 weeks pregnant or something. We're talking about like a clump of cells here, but it's more like what could have been, you know? And like even watching like, even reading Frankenstein like as a kid, like I really related to the creature, because like I felt like, I don't know, just like a super like disgusting, weird freak that had like no place in human society whatsoever. And like I was like made in the image of like some of the most fucked up people in the world who were like not aware of like the like consequences of what they were gonna do. They were just like, oh, we're gonna have babies. And I feel like the way actually Victor approaches like creating the creature is the same way a lot of people think about having kids. They're like, oh, like I'm gonna make a baby because like I want to, and it's like all about them, and it's not about like how whoever they will create. That actually that gave me fucking chills in the theater when Victor is like, I've created something, and the creature's like, you created someone. Like, but because like in a way I think like we're all kind of like a pastiche of like all the things that like came before us, you know what I mean? Anyway, did you fucking like Frankenstein? I'm out of matcha and I'm crying, so I gotta go. This performative male Friday is not going very well. Anyway, that's what good cinema does to you. So yeah, like even though I didn't love the ending, like infinite respect to Guillermo Del Toro for real. Yeah. Bye. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe for whatever this is.